Today, let's continue our in-depth analysis of the highly significant India-Pakistan air battle. This battle has inadvertently led us to witness a moment that could rewrite history. On May 7th, Pakistan, with the help of advanced weapons provided by China, staged an extraordinary aerial confrontation and shot down 6 Indian fighter jets. Among the 5 confirmed downed aircraft, 3 are French-made Rafale fighters, one is MiG-29, and another is Su-30MKI. Last night, when Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, Ishaq Dar, reported this battle situation in Parliament, his excitement was palpable. Moreover, Pakistan sent a congratulatory message to China through diplomatic channels, clearly demonstrating its recognition and gratitude for Chinese weapons. Prime Minister Bo also revealed that India had aggressively dispatched 70 or 80 fighter jets to attack Pakistan. However, Pakistan, our steadfast ally, was so powerful that it could have shot down 15 of them. But in a show of strategic restraint, it ultimately downed 5 jet fighters. Now, in the Kashmir region, the wreckage of French-made aircraft has been discovered, including parts of Rafale engines, air-to-air missiles, and missile pylons, which serve as solid evidence of Pakistan's victory. The air battle on May 7th, just one day after it occurred, may have caught many people off guard, but its significance is immense. India's decades-long established hegemony in the South Asian subcontinent has been completely shattered in this battle. Why is this so? The core of hegemony, whether regional or global, adheres to the principle that the hegemon cannot be defeated. A regional hegemon needs to have a thick skin. Even if it suffers a defeat outside its territory, it must pretend that nothing happened upon returning home. A global hegemon takes this further, aiming never to suffer losses anywhere. India has maintained its hegemony in the South Asian subcontinent by avoiding defeats within this region. Countries like Bangladesh to the east, Pakistan to the west, Nepal to the north, as well as Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives have all been under India's deterrence. In 1962, India was severely taught a lesson by China, but since it happened outside its territory, India, with its thick-skinned mentality, swallowed its pride and continued to dominate in South Asia. However, the May 7th air battle was completely different. This time, India bled within the South Asian subcontinent, and it was a major setback. With a score of 6-0 even excluding the drone and only counting manned aircraft, it's a staggering 5-0, and all the downed fighters being shot down within Indian airspace. It means India was completely on the defensive with no ability to fight back. This kind of situation can't be glossed over with just a thick skin. Other South Asian countries have witnessed this, and no amount of denial from India will change the fact. India suffered a heavy defeat in the May 7th air battle. If it could swallow its pride and reflect seriously, there might still be a chance for it to rise again through self-discipline and hard work, and we would indeed have to be wary of such an opponent. But in reality, India panicked and immediately launched large-scale military exercises. However, there's no need to worry. India remains the same, unable to improve its situation. In this air battle, India wasn't the only loser. France's Dassault aviation also suffered a huge blow to its reputation. Both the Rafale and Mirage 2000 are Dassault products. Besides Pakistan and China, another big winner is Martin Baker. Specializing in manufacturing ejection equipment for Dassault, the company was quick to react. It updated the cumulative number of successful ejections from 7,784 to 7,788 immediately after the battle. Among the aircraft shot down by Pakistan, there was also a Su-30MKI. Including the drone, a total of 8 aircraft were downed. The downing of the Su-30MKI has been confirmed, and since it was a 2-seater, both pilots survived, demonstrating the good performance of the Russian-made ejection system. For India, there is a silver lining of a sort. It managed to intercept all the missiles fired by Pakistan, achieving a 100% interception rate. But the bad news is that it used fighter jets for interception, which clearly exposes the serious problems in India's air defense system. This air battle is an epoch-making event in military history and even human history. It marks that China's weaponry and equipment have not only caught up with but far surpassed those of the West with a huge margin. The shock it brings is comparable to the feeling of the Qing government when it first encountered the advanced warships and cannons of the West around 1840. Now, some far-sighted people have realized that the West has fallen behind the East in many aspects. India may still be complacent, thinking that as an Eastern country it has something in common with China. But in fact, there's no comparison between them. In this air battle, the French Rafale fighter jets were completely outmatched. The Rafale is no ordinary aircraft. Led by France, it represents the pinnacle of European aviation technology, built with the combined efforts of the whole of Europe. It is known as the most powerful fourth and a half-generation fighter. Among existing fighter jets, aside from China's 6th and 5th generation aircraft J-20 and J-35, the US's F-22 and F-35, and Russia's Su-57, the Rafale was once considered. As early as 2001, India signaled to global arms manufacturers that it was looking to buy new fighter jets. In 2007, the Indian military officially launched a tender announcing plans to purchase 126 aircraft at a total cost of $12 billion. After the Cold War, arms manufacturers were eager for business, and when they saw India's huge cake, they were all eager to get a piece. To compete for this large order, arms manufacturers from around the world, except China, presented their best products. There were the Eurofighter Typhoon from Europe, the Rafale from France, the Saab Gripen from Sweden, the F-16 and F-18 Super Hornet from the US, and the MiG-35 from Russia. India's selection committee was spoiled for choice. In 2012, India announced that Dassault's Rafale had won the bid. The deal for 126 aircraft was worth $8.4 billion, with a unit price of $67 million. India's strategy was clear: attract bidders with a large order and then drive down the price. Not only did it reduce the project cost from $12 billion to $8.4 billion, but it also demanded that Dassault transfer technology and move the production line to India. Dassault was in a difficult position, but seeing the large sum of money, it reluctantly agreed. However, Dassault set a condition: it would not be responsible for the quality assurance and after-sales service of Rafales produced in India, as it lacked confidence in made-in-India products and was worried about damaging its reputation. After all, maintaining its brand image was more important than making a profit. The Indian military disagreed, as after-sales service was essential, and India itself, though its manufacturing capabilities were unreliable. With no agreement reached, the deal stalled. In 2015, India simply tore up the contract. Just as Dassault was preparing to dismantle the production line in disappointment, a surprise came. India proposed to buy 36 Rafales for $9.1 billion, without the requirement for local production. Dassault was stunned. It couldn't believe its ears, thinking that India had rejected 126 aircraft for $8.4 billion and now was willing to pay more for only 36. There must be something fishy. The Indian official, Mr. Singh, saw Dassault's doubts and explained that it was mainly because China's J-20 was about to enter service and India was in a hurry. But with the price increase, India also had demands. First, no downgraded version, only the most advanced configuration. Second, a full range of services. Third, inflate the invoice amount, and it even offered to pay a deposit to reassure Dassault. Normally, when exporting fighter jets, their performance is often downgraded, but when India imported the Rafale, it required France not only to maintain full performance, but also to add more advanced technologies. Dassault was touched by Mr. Singh's sincerity. It sold a 4th generation fighter at a price comparable to that of a 6th generation one and was overjoyed. After receiving a $3.1 billion deposit, Dassault started working overtime on modifications and production. By 2022, 36 Rafale fighter jets were delivered. But when it came time to collect the remaining payment, India reneged, claiming it had no money and asked Dassault to produce 24 carrier-based Rafales and said it would pay all the money at once later. Dassault was in a difficult situation but had no choice but to sign a new agreement. Here comes the crucial part. This is where the West's nightmare began. The Rafales shot down by Pakistan were the enhanced version, yet the weapons China sold to Pakistan, even with standard configurations, easily outperformed them. It's like the opponent exerted all its strength. while we only used 30% of ours and still defeated them effortlessly. The opponent was left humiliated and helpless. Take the PL-15 missile as an example. The version used by the Chinese military is equipped with a dual pulse engine with extremely strong performance. The exported version uses a normal engine. The range of the domestic place-15 can reach over 300 kilometers, while the exported version is strictly limited to 145 kilometers. Even with this limited performance exported version, it outclassed the Rafale and Su-30. The Rafale crashed just 20 kilometers from the airport. Considering the time needed for missile launch and flight, it means the Rafale was detected and shot down almost as soon as it took off, with the situation completely under Pakistan's control. Even if the Rafale launched its Mica missile first, there was no need to worry. The J-10C, with its excellent maneuverability, could easily evade and then launch the PL-15E in retaliation. What's even more astonishing is that the J-10C is considered a relatively outdated model in China, and we have at least 6 types of fighter jets more advanced than it. Therefore, the Kashmir air battle on May 7th is truly epoch-making. The so-called centennial changes have become crystal clear at this moment. It's the rise of the East and the dominance of the East over the West. I predict that soon, orders for J-10C fighter jets, tanks, drones, and warships from African, Asian, and Latin American countries will pour in like snowflakes. The balance of power for world peace will undergo a fundamental change, and situations in the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and the Korean Peninsula will gradually improve. Let's look back at what Geng Shuang said. Its significance grows with time. When the US accused China of aiding Russia, Geng Shuang said, "If we really got involved, the battlefield would be completely different." This statement shamed Russia, Ukraine, the US, and Europe all at once. Unfortunately, Modi didn't listen to reason and initiated the India-Pakistan conflict. Now he finds himself in an awkward situation, much like Trump did when he launched the tariff war and got stuck in a difficult position. The mindset of Indians is truly hard to understand. Chairman Mao Zedong spent 9 days and nights trying to figure out why India would brazenly invade China back then. Now, India still refuses to admit that its fighter jets were shot down. The media is still stubborn, insisting that 3 aircraft crashed on their own. We might think that claiming self-crash makes India look even more incompetent, but India doesn't see it that way. In their view, self-crashes are due to their own shortcomings, not because Pakistan is strong. Another reason for India's stubborn denial is that it said Dassault once promised to replace 3 aircraft for every 1 crashed due to malfunctions. Now India insists on self-crash, perhaps hoping to extort Dassault. According to this logic, if India crashed all 36 Rafales, it could get 108 new ones. What a clever calculation. Here, I want to remind India and those who blindly worship foreign powers that if they want to whitewash India's defeat, they should at least do it skillfully. Don't claim that the F-16 was responsible for the downings, because the F-16 is less capable than the J-10C, and such a claim would only make India look more ridiculous. There are 2 smarter ways to excuse India's defeat. First, blame French manufacturing for being subpar and claim that Dassault sabotaged the products as an excuse to renege on payments. Second, accuse China of being unfair and secretly using the J-20 or even 6th generation aircraft, as losing to the J-20 or 6th generation aircraft would be less embarrassing. The last resort would be for India to quickly import the F-35. If the F-35 also fails, India can console itself by saying, "Look, even the US's 5th generation fighter can't do it, so who has the right to laugh at me?" However, if Modi is smart, the best option now is to stop this madness. But if he doesn't, it's okay. It will just help promote our tanks, drones, robotic dogs, and warships. I'm especially looking forward to Lebanon and Egypt placing orders soon to put some pressure on certain countries and show them our strength. In 2012, India announced that France's Dassault Aviation had won the bid to supply 126 Rafale fighter jets at a total cost of $8.4 billion, with a unit price of $67 million. India's strategy was transparent: lure bidders with a large-scale order and then drive down the price aggressively. Not content with slashing the project cost from $12 billion to $8.4 billion, India also demanded that Dassault transfer technology and relocate the production line to India. Caught in a dilemma, Dassault reluctantly agreed, swayed by the massive $8.40 billion deal. However, the French company set a condition. It would not provide quality assurance or after-sales services for Rafales manufactured in India. Dassault lacked confidence in Indian manufacturing and feared it would damage its brand reputation, considering brand integrity more crucial than immediate profits. The Indian military, well aware of its own manufacturing limitations yet insistent on after-sales support, led to a deadlock in negotiations. In 2015, India abruptly terminated the contract. Just as Dassault was preparing to dismantle the production line in disappointment, a surprising turn occurred. India proposed purchasing 36 Rafales for $9.1 billion, this time without the requirement for local production. Dassault was stunned. The company couldn't fathom why India had rejected 126 jets for $8.4 billion only to now offer more money for fewer aircraft. Indian official Singh, sensing Dassault's skepticism, explained that the urgency stemmed from the imminent service entry of China's J-20 fighter jet. Along with the price increase, India imposed new demands. First, no downgraded versions, only the highest spec models. Second, a comprehensive service package. And third, an inflated invoice amount, reassuring Dassault with the promise of a deposit. Typically, exported fighter jets undergo performance downgrades, but India insisted that the Rafales not only retain full capabilities but also incorporate additional advanced technologies. Impressed by what seemed like India's sincerity, Dassault sold fourth-generation aircraft at a price comparable to sixth-generation models and eagerly began production after receiving a $3.10 billion deposit. By 2022, the 36 Rafales were delivered. However, when it came time to collect the remaining payment, India reneged, claiming financial constraints and pressuring Dassault to produce 24 carrier-borne Rafales with the promise of settling all dues later. Dassault, despite its frustration, had no choice but to renew the agreement. Here lies the turning point that spelled trouble for the West. The Rafales shot down by Pakistan were the enhanced version, yet Pakistan's Chinese-supplied weapons, even in standard configurations, decimated them effortlessly. It was a lopsided battle where Pakistan, exerting minimal effort, outclassed India's best-equipped aircraft, leaving the latter humiliated and powerless. Take the PL-15 missile as an example. China's domestic version, equipped with a dual-pulse engine, boasts exceptional performance with a range exceeding 300 kilometers. In contrast, the exported version, restricted to 145 kilometers, still outperformed the Rafales and Su-30s. The fact that a Rafale crashed just 20 kilometers from the airport indicates it was detected and downed almost immediately after takeoff, highlighting Pakistan's complete dominance of the situation. Even if the Rafale launched its Mica missiles first, the highly maneuverable J-10C could easily evade and counterattack with the PL-15E. Moreover, the J-10C, considered relatively obsolete in China's arsenal, pales in comparison to at least 6 more advanced The Kashmir air battle on May 7th was indeed a game-changer, crystallizing the ongoing centennial transformation, the rise of the East and its growing dominance over the West. It's foreseeable that a flood of orders for Chinese J-10C fighter jets, tanks, drones, and warships from Afro-Asian, Latin American countries will soon follow, heralding a fundamental shift in the global balance of power for peace. This shift is poised to positively reshape situations in the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and the Korean Peninsula. Geng Shuang's statement during the US's baseless accusations of China aiding Russia gains increasing significance with time. His retort, "If we truly intervened, the battlefield would be entirely different," was a scathing rebuke to Russia, Ukraine, the US, and Europe alike. Regrettably, Modi ignored the warnings and triggered the India-Pakistan conflict, now finding himself in a precarious situation similar to Trump's entanglement in the tariff war. Indian logic remains perplexing. Chairman Mao Zedong spent 9 days and nights pondering India's ill-fated decision to invade China, and today, India still refuses to acknowledge the downing of its fighter jets. The media defiantly claims that 3 aircraft crashed due to technical failures. While such an excuse might seem self-incriminating to others, India perceives self-crash as internal shortcomings rather than a testament to Pakistan's superiority. This obstinacy may stem from Dassault's alleged 3-for-1 replacement policy for malfunction-induced crash. India's insistence on self-crash might be a ploy to extort Dassault. If all 36 Rafales crashed, India could potentially obtain 108 new aircraft. To India and those blindly enamored with foreign powers, any attempt to excuse this defeat requires finesse. Blaming the F-16, which is less capable than the J-10C, would only compound the embarrassment. More sophisticated defenses include accusing France of manufacturing defects as a pretext for non-payment, or alleging that China secretly deployed the J-20 or 6th-generation aircraft, as losing to such advanced models would be more palatable. As a last resort, India could import the F-35. If even the F-35 fails, India could rationalize its defeat by pointing to the US's own struggles, thinking, if America's 5th-generation fighter can't succeed, who can criticize us? If Modi were wise, he would halt his actions immediately. But if he persists, it will inadvertently serve as free promotion for Chinese military products. Countries like Lebanon and Egypt are eagerly awaited to place orders, applying pressure on certain nations and showcasing China's formidable strength.